Well, Jeff, thanks for being a part of the conversation today.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm thrilled to be here.
Glad you're here. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Jeff Kratz, and I get the privilege of being Vice President for our worldwide public sector channels business. So get to work with SIs, ISVs, telcos, you name it, around the globe as they serve government, education, nonprofit, regulated health, and of course, aerospace and satellite.
Yeah.
So exciting part of the business.
Yeah, it was interesting satellite announcement yesterday with Kuiper.
We do have a lot of, it's amazing to see how the entire industry is embracing cloud for all of the benefits, scaling fast, being able to pay as you go, do high competition, mathematics in scalable ways. And so it's really cool to see how they're embracing the cloud.
Exciting stuff. And Rick Rosenberg, welcome. Yes. You help look after our public sector here at Rackspace.
Yes, I do. And it's a real pleasure. And again, we get to work with your team and enjoy that thoroughly.
And likewise.
Yes.
Back with you.
It's been a key part in our success and our growth in Texas and California, and as we're developing our SLED business across Rackspace.
Some great states that are also leading the way.
Yes,
in so many ways.
Yes, they are.
So in looking a little bit through the LinkedIn, you are somebody who's been in technology for a little while.
Yeah.
And been involved in helping partners be successful, help companies adopt technology.
I have, it's been an amazing career. Out of college, helped do a startup with a whole group down in San Diego.
Okay.
21 years at Microsoft. We had this product called Windows. I thought it might kind of take on.
Maybe.
So about good part on a lot of activities in channel. In the past 12 years here at AWS, helping build the public sector side.
And you were, I'm not first boots on the ground for that, but pretty close.
Yeah, as number 42 in our public sector team.
Yeah.
We had just started with the U.S. federal business, opening up the U.K. market, Singapore, but we had an aspiration to help government act like a startup. But we always knew critical to that was involving our partner community.
Right.
And so from that, it's been wonderful to see that continue to grow.
Fantastic. So I'm interested, I've in the conversations I've had this week in talking to folks who've been in technology for a while, is to talk about how the adoption trends have changed over the years. You think about that time where you were in Microsoft and helping oversee channel and companies adopt technology. As I look back in those eras, technology moved in a 2 or 3 year cycle. An operating system would come out, a new server from HP or Dell or Compaq, depending on how far we're going to go back. But that changes a lot these days, and every day it just gets faster. But how are you seeing companies changing their own ethos about how they're adopting technology?
Well, we're definitely seeing a continued acceleration, and we see governments acting like startups.
Well, I was going to get to that next. Because we'll compare from commercial to government, but let's jump in.
Well, they are, and I think what happens is COVID, well, it was a trying time for the entire world, changed the expectations. Governments couldn't wait, 3-4 years for a solution set. They needed it in 36 hours. They needed the complexity to scale up rapidly, to let all of us know as citizens what the current status of the pandemic is, where to get vaccines, where to go, what not to do, other needs of government to serve their customers, citizens. So exiting out of COVID, so rapid rate of cloud adoption around the globe, mature markets to new emerging markets that were going quickly. But leaving that, it's continued to accelerate. And part of it has been a shift from a technical buy, which is kind of pre-COVID.
Right.
I need a little S3, a little EC2. I need an amazing partner. I need CloudFront. I need some time to cobble it together too. I need a solution that's 80% there. Now I need 20% customization. And that business decision maker has changed the way you're doing business in government. And that is continuing to accelerate because we have a populace that wants more engagement, wants the security, wants the prosperity. And so that expectation has continued post-COVID.
Very interesting. Rick, what are you seeing in that space?
We've seen the same thing. Prior to COVID, government was very conservative at moving forward with technology. They had process and procedures they needed to follow since they are the guardians of the taxpayer dollar. During COVID, all the reporting that was required for that, as you mentioned, things had to get turned around very quickly. And with public cloud, infrastructure could be spun up very fast, spun down very fast, and it just became the norm and then accepted. Versus going through the typical complete RFP process and past performance and so on. They were seeing that adoption very quickly and just never to look back.
I think there's also something that changed post-COVID where citizens expected more from governments.
Mm.
And when you think about our iPhones, it's seldom we make a phone call on them. I mean, we're
Yeah.
using them in
Yeah.
so many different ways. And so that changed the dynamic of how government works with their citizens.
Mhm.
And so that expectation from citizens caused governments to be much more agile, to still have all the security,
Right.
all the responsibility, the compliance topics that you mentioned.
Mhm.
But we need to do it faster
Yeah.
and to deliver that. And then we've seen that continue around the globe.
And that gets interesting because we think public sector, and there are the people who do the work in the public sector, and then there are in the U.S. the elected officials
Yeah.
that then are helping to oversee, write the policy, and so forth. And I've witnessed a mismatch, a dichotomy between the evolution of the education and the thought of the lawmaker compared to the practitioner, I would call it. So how does AWS help influence and educate even at that lawmaker space?
Well, we do quite a lot around the globe. I mean, first is helping government leaders, whether they're new or in office, et cetera, just understand cloud basics.
Yeah.
We have a whole government transformation team that is going around the globe and explaining what cloud is. Not necessarily AWS, it's
Yeah.
just AWS as an example of
Right.
it, but how to think about trading CapEx for an OpEx model. How do you think about for procurement?
Yeah.
Type of topics. Most procurement laws were written for cost overruns.
Yeah.
In fact, one government responded back, we kept lowering the prices. We've lowered the prices 120 plus times. So like, we're not used to
We're not
that.
used to this.
You know,
We budgeted here. You're coming in here.
yeah. So like, what do we do as a part of it? So we have a government transformation team that
Okay.
works with government leaders, as well as we work with our channel partners
Right.
to help better educate while the different projects go through.
Right.
There's a lot of laws that are being rewritten.
Mhm.
There's a lot of new technology and policies that have to be debated and discussed,
Right.
again, to protect citizens
Mhm.
and helping participate. I think that's one of the fun parts at times because different competitive cloud platforms get together to help advance a
Yeah.
topic. And we're
Common
seeing
goal.
that more and more.
Yeah.
We've experienced that with Texas and California. We pulled together with AWS, those government forums.
Yeah.
For executives come in and talk about cloud, like you say, not just AWS, but cloud in general, with AWS representatives there and that doing that. And then the next day, more of a technology for the architects and engineers that would build cloud. You know, just getting them educated on the cloud, what it is, how it operates, and so on. It's been very beneficial.
Some themes continue across all. So if you're taking cybersecurity,
Yeah.
definitely a topic around the globe. Any government official is going to want to talk about it. And then how do you take proactive steps to secure a government's data? It's the citizens' data at the end of the day,
Right.
as well as then other different topics. They're just consistent. And we're finding government leaders are naturally curious. They want to learn, but then they want to apply
Right.
for the benefit of their citizens. That's helping accelerate the speed of expectation as well.
That's interesting because, and I love the explanation that you saw COVID as that catalyst and in the government, because we think government, we think slow moving bureaucracy in adopting anything new. But that is not the case in 2023 as it relates to technology.
It's not. I mean, if I look at governments around the globe, in Singapore, they've done some amazing work with our Connect platform,
Yeah.
call centers,
Yeah.
where now they're able to answer the citizens' request in literally minutes and seconds versus please hold,
Yeah.
for all on it, which is a better service while getting the insight of what the citizens were asking for, leveraging cloud technologies. In the US, up in Nebraska, we're seeing judicial reform with some of our partners. How do you better manage the process of court cases?
Yeah.
Looking out there to see what are some of the prior rulings that may apply, but then also the links to make sure that it ties to verified, outcomes that are part. And so whether it's mature markets or different emerging markets across, we're seeing the same threads continue.
Yeah, so 2023 will go down as the year where AI exploded everywhere, and it's what we see in everything. And are we seeing governments looking to AI and your technologies there to help what they're doing, or is there some cautiousness associated?
Well, we're definitely seeing governments move forward. We're seeing our partner community race forward, and it's moving out of proof of concepts. It's into
Right.
production
Oh, wonderful.
workloads now.
Yeah.
And again, we're seeing that pretty consistently. Sometimes it's for cost savings.
Mm.
There was a small municipality north of London that was able to save over $80,000 through leveraging some of our Gen AI tool sets
Yeah.
to meet compliance on supporting 100 languages in
Mm.
their city. Now they're doing stuff with Bedrock and automate even faster. So those are production workloads
Right.
that are moving, but our partners have been diving in. And I think that's one of the most fun parts of my job as I travel around the world, is I get to hear from our partners like Rackspace and others, here's what we're doing, here's the new example. And from that perspective,
Right.
moving forward faster
Yeah.
for government.
So, as somebody who is, at the tip of the technology spear, you know what AWS is capable of, having been there for so long. You know what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
So, what I'd love for you to do now is to take that art of the possible into the government. Where do you see great opportunity for the good of the citizens really becoming an impact? I love your example before of judicial reform and making sure that that they understand all the case law that exists to be able
Sure.
to share. But what are some of those? If you could have it happen in 24, what would it be?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot of it move forward anyways. Even
Yeah.
I think it will happen. And one of the big areas that we have focused on has been choice. And from that perspective, it's not just a region, AWS region, that has all the cloud services.
Right.
We've iterated on behalf of our partners' feedback as well as our customers to local zones, dedicated local zones, our Snow family, our products, Outposts, and then services on all these,
Right.
because not one size fits all. And
That's
what
right.
our approach is to provide the choice for the partners to take what components, what services, over 300 different services that we have, more were announced this week,
That's right.
and then build the right solution that is agile and nimble, secure for what the government needs. I do think we're going to see predominantly 4 big trends.
Okay.
One is an acceleration of citizen services
Mm.
for all of us.
Yeah.
That may be during an election cycle, it may be getting your car tabs
Mm.
renewed
Yeah.
as a part. And so from that, we're seeing government modernize back-end systems and processes very rapidly at the state, provincial, local, or federal level. The second part we're seeing is really preparing future generations for the workforce.
Hmm.
It's why we announced shortly, $20 million into cybersecurity training and engagement
Yeah.
to help build that talent that's there. We're doing that in AI and other areas to make sure that the talent is there for our partners so that they can go ahead and have that rich set of expertise.
Yeah.
Universities, definitely getting engaged in that. Because if you have that talent, then you can take this amazing technology, put it to use.
Right.
Third is we live in a connected world. And so much more on how do you have security, but agility.
Mm.
There's a tension wire that's
Yeah.
in there. But there are people that want to do bad things out there. I don't understand it.
I don't-
There are.
Unfortunately, it's
There-
a fact of reality.
And with ransomware on the rise and a variety of different parts, especially for on-premise scenarios, how do we help governments stay nimble
Mhm.
while accomplishing their mission
Yeah.
within that agility inside? And then the last part that I'm really excited about is how we solve some of the hardest problems in the world.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I love public sector. It's a mission-driven workload. And in a world that is right now rather challenged,
Mhm.
uncertainty, financial markets, war and conflicts, et cetera, being in public sector and taking cloud with our partner community, we get to do good things.
Yeah.
And I think the world needs a lot of healing. This is an opportunity with a mission-driven approach
Yeah.
together with our channel partners to do good in the world. And you'll see those definitely next year and years following.
Maybe same question to you, Rick. What are you looking for? You've been in public sector for a while. Where's some opportunity for technology to improve?
Echoing what Jeff said, but just with Gen AI coming out, there's a lot of citizen services that are definitely going to take advantage of Gen AI. I think Contact Center, you mentioned AWS Connect earlier, tie and connect with Gen AI to
Mhm.
help, citizen services through like welfare eligibility,
Mhm.
tags, everything else. I mean, that is specifically going to speed up the process, but also allow our government to do this more with the same amount of people.
Yeah.
Because, cost savings in government is not about taking out headcount.
No.
It's about how do we extend and speed up the services for the citizens with the same headcount.
Mhm.
And, unfortunately or fortunately through the benefits of COVID, now we're seeing technology adoption being much faster.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to see with Gen AI, is it just being adopted in government so much faster than it would have been without that.
Well, I think the big catalyst there was the fact that, when March 2020 showed up, everybody just, lobbed all their data into a common location, whatever their cloud of choice was, and just so that their workers could have access to what they needed to do. And that, as we heard this week, I mean, data is the driver. It's the differentiator.
It is, and I would say that we're still in the early days, though. When I was looking at some analysis report from Forrester, Gartner, and others, and there's still so much data that is in on-premise solutions, both commercial market and, of course, in government. And from that, we want to make sure that we're helping our customers make the migration of that data into the cloud so they can take advantage of Gen AI and all this amazing technology to drive the insights. And it has to be clean data. It's got to be thoughtful, because otherwise the output then is challenged.
Yeah.
And I think from that perspective, we're really working hard. While there's so much interest on Gen AI, it's also making sure that we have the interest on what's the data ingest process and how it may not be moving a workload. It may just being the data from that workload, creating a data lake of multiple. And we're seeing, for instance, a university in Indiana, they had 1,100 individual applications. To move all those to the cloud didn't make sense.
Sure.
But what they did is they moved the data into a data lake, found out $5 to $6 million of financial aid fraud, which then opened up, not only paid for the engagement for the partner, but then they said, what else can we find?
Yeah.
What's the art of the question?
Yeah.
But if you don't move the data in,
You just don't know.
you can't take advantage of it. And that's where we're spending a lot of time with the channel and our customers this week.
Well, it's going to be exciting in 2024 to see all of the announcements from this week really starting to get utilized and the impact happening public sector across the world.
Government can act like a startup. And I think we're going to see as citizens, that's one of the most beautiful things, because then they're not only protecting us, having prosperity, healthcare, the engagement side, but from that side, they'll deliver even faster services. I think we all expect.
Yep. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks.
There we go.